Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Merrill. I'm here today to read you the story of how Odin lost his eye. We have heard of Odin, King Odin, before. We may have seen him in some movies. We know him as the god of wisdom. He likes to seek wisdom and knowledge, but he also likes to give wisdom and knowledge. We also know him as the god of poetry, of death, and even magic. He is the king of Asgard as well. However, one of the biggest questions surrounding Odin is, how did he lose his eye? Whenever we see him, we see that we have an eye patch over his right eye, and really the question is, what happened? How did he lose his eye? This myth right here will explain how Odin lost his eye. Let's get started. Once, when the world was still very young, Odin sat on his throne in the most beautiful palace in Asgard. His throne was so high that he could see over all three parts of the world from where he sat. On his head he wore a helmet shaped like an eagle. On his shoulders perched two black ravens called Memory and Thought, and at his feet crouched two snarling wolves. Odin sounds like a very fierce king. However, we also know that he thinks a lot. He has two ravens that perched or sit on his shoulders, and they are called Memory and Thought. And just like I said before, Odin is the god of wisdom. So this right here may indicate why Odin is so into finding knowledge and giving knowledge. Okay. Okay. Back to our reading. The great king gazed thoughtfully down on the earth below him. There's a lot of thinking going on right now with him, so we know that he's always thinking. He had made the green land that stretched out before his eyes. With the help of the other gods, he had made men and women who lived on earth, and he felt truly like the All-Father he was called. Okay, so right now it sounds like King Odin is a very good king. He is known as the All-Father, and right now the words that are being used in this passage are very positive. So we could look at Odin as being a very positive ruler for his kingdom. We know that this is a positive tone or mood. He helps other gods. So therefore we can say that he is a very good person. Obviously very different than King Minos from when we read Theseus and the Minotaur on Monday and Tuesday. The fair elves had promised they would help his children of the earth. The elves were the tiny people who lived between heaven and earth. They were so small that they could flit about doing their work unseen. Odin knew that they were the artists who painted the flowers and made beds for the streams. They took care of all the bees and butterflies, and it was the elves who brought the gentle rain and sunshine to earth. Even the ugly dwarfs who lived in the heart of the mountains agreed to help. They forged iron and metals, made tools and weapons. They dug gold and silver and beautiful jewels out of the earth. Sometimes they even cut the grain and ground the flour for the farmers on the earth. It sounds like Odin lives in a very nice place, Asgard. It sounds like everyone helps out. So everyone helps make the earth beautiful. Okay, and Odin understands that. He understands that the elves have their jobs and the dwarves have their jobs as well. All seemed to be going well. Odin found it hard to think of evil times. but he knew that the frost giants were only waiting for a chance to bring trouble to his children. They were the ones who brought cold and ice to the world and shook the earth in anger. They hated Odin and all the work of the gods. Okay, so we have the frost giants up here. Okay, we talked a lot about cold versus warm. And these frost giants are the ones who bring cold and ice to the world and shook the earth in anger. So we can tell that these frost giants are negative, and they bring negativity to the earth and the world. They are cold, and sometimes we can say that the word cold symbolizes somebody or something who is maybe shut off to others, maybe doesn't want to be open-minded. So these frost giants definitely sound like they could bring some evil to King Odin's land. And from high on his throne, Odin looked down beyond the earth, deep into the gloomy land of his enemies. He saw dark figures of huge men moving about. They looked like evil shadows. He, the king of the gods, must have more wisdom. It was not enough just to see his enemies. He must know more about them. So right now, instead of being scared or punishing these evil figures, King Odin wants to know more about them. So he again is showing that he is the God of wisdom and knowledge, and he wants to know more. He is seeking information about these figures. Again, it shows that King Odin is very thoughtful, and maybe he wants to help. Maybe he thinks that these dark figures and the men and women that Odin created can maybe live together peacefully. Okay, so Odin wants to know more about them, about these dark figures. So Odin wrapped his tall figure in a blue cloak. Down from his throne he climbed. Down the broad rainbow bridge he strode, and across the green earth till he came to one of the roots of the great evergreen tree. There, close by the tree, was a well full of clear water. Its surface was so still it was like a mirror. In it one could see pictures of things that happened and things that were going to happen. So therefore, when you look in the well, you can see the past and the future. But beside the well sat an old man. His face was lined with the troubles of the world. His name was Mimir, which means memory. No one, not even the great Odin, could see the pictures in the well unless he first drank some of its water. Only Mimir could give the magic drink. "Aged Mimir," Odin said to the old man, "you who hold the knowledge of the past and future in your magic waters, let me have but one sip. Then I can know enough to protect the men and the women of the earth from the hate of the giants." All right, so right here, this shows that Odin wants to help the men and women of the earth. So Odin wants to know more so that he can help the men and the women of the earth. Again, showing that Odin cares about his people. Mimir looked kindly at Odin, but he did not smile. Although he spoke softly, his voice was so deep it reminded Odin of the distant roar of the ocean. "The price of one drink from the well is not cheap," Mimir said, "and once you have drunk and gazed into the mirror of life, you may wish you had not. For sorrow and death as well as joy are pictured there. Think again before you ask to drink." But once the king of the gods had made up his mind, nothing could change it. He was not afraid to look upon sorrow and death. "What is your price, aged Mimir?" Odin asked. "You are great and good, Odin," answered Mimir. "You have worked hard to make the world. Only those who know hard work may drink from my well. However, that is not enough. What have you given up that is very dear to you? What have you sacrificed? The price of a drink must be a great sacrifice. Are you willing to pay the price?" Okay, so Mimir is asking Odin to sacrifice something. Okay, so just like our theme from the other day, it looks like we are going to have the same theme of sacrificing for the greater good. Okay, and when you sacrifice something, you're giving something up to help others. So it sounds like Mimir wants Odin to give something up and sacrifice something in order to be able to drink from the well.